Jesus said to his disciples, "You are the light of the world." We've all probably been hearing this since we were very young. And it's a wonderful thing that we learn as children, that we, as his disciples, reflect his light, that we are the light of the world. And the thing about light, right, is that it goes out from its source. And so anytime we hear we're the light of the world, our next thought is almost automatically a going out. We think of doing things like the corporal works of mercy, right? Feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing the naked, giving shelter to the homeless, caring for the sick, visiting the imprisoned, and burying our dead. We go out. That's what it means to be the light of the world, is that sometimes we're called to go out just like light. But also, and that's oftentimes a going out, but sometimes as disciples, as being his light in this world, we are called, in fact, not to go out. Sometimes, instead of going out, we're called to stay put, to not go out and remain exactly where we are. At the parish of St. Monica, where I am privileged to be an associate pastor, I don't have to be a pastor like Father Carlson here. It's a tough job, I know, but the associate has the life. And one of the things that we, like you, are so blessed to have is a school at St. Monica in Indianapolis. And a few years ago, the state of Indiana, the legislators, passed a school voucher program. And through this voucher program, private schools have gained 19,000 students. And almost all of them are able to attend these schools tuition-free. In our archdiocesan schools, any voucher students, these vouchers cover completely the tuition. And thanks be to this voucher program, and thanks be to God, we have actually over 10,000 students in the state of Indiana today receiving a Catholic education that had, prior to this, not been available to them. But because of our location, at our school specifically, about 1/5 of the students now are voucher students, what are called voucher students. And this has drastically changed the face of our school. It's changed the face mostly because we're receiving a very different demographic of student. The students that come to our school come from a very economically challenged area. And they are raised with a very different value system oftentimes. Many of our voucher students grow up in homes that do not have mothers and fathers. They're either single-family homes, or perhaps they're living with a legal guardian or their grandparents. And good grades are not the priority in those homes. They're oftentimes, sometimes the voucher students in our school are blamed for being very disruptive in class. And in fact, it's a both and. It's both the full tuition students and the voucher students. Kids are kids wherever you go. And they have a lot of fun. And they want to have fun. They've also been blamed. Our school has not had, probably in the last 10 years, any fights. And once the voucher program started, our grade school had a number of fights. And the voucher students were once again blamed for this. Their behavior in class, they're blamed for disrupting the class. And this has drastically changed our school. Over 100 students are voucher students in our school. And this change has caused many of our full tuition families, not many, but some of our families to begin to pull out of our school and switch to a different school. Some of them go to other Catholic schools. Some of them go to the public school where this demographic of students do not attend. Oftentimes, being the light of the world means we go out. But sometimes, being the light of the world means we stay put, that we do not go anywhere. Because when we go, a darkness falls. And that's exactly what's happened in our school at St. Monica. Is there's been a very palpable darkness, a very tangible darkness that has fallen over our school. And it is not because, this darkness is not because of the voucher students. They have come and brought their own light, the very light of Christ, and it shines in a very different way, but it shines nonetheless. That darkness is not created by our voucher students. The darkness is created because disciples run away. People that are called to be the light of Christ and called to go out, but in this case, called to stay put, do not. They run away. And when disciples run away, a darkness comes and fills where the light once was. And they run. I get it. I sympathize with these parents. They run because it's change. They run because of discomfort. Things are not the way they used to be at our school. And that means change. And we're human beings. We are creatures of habit. We don't like change. We don't like to change. We don't like discomfort. We like and will pursue comfort in our lives. And that's okay. We're human beings. But as disciples, sometimes we're called to get rid of that unwillingness to change. Sometimes we're called to not pursue blindly comfort. Sometimes we're called to stay. Sometimes, as the light of the world, we're not called to go anywhere. We are called to stay. And so, brothers and sisters, this week, reflect on your lives. Let us all look back on where we're at in life. Where have we experienced these temptations to run? Where have we experienced these temptations to not change, to not adapt, and so remain and be the light of Christ? Oftentimes, as the light of the world, we are called to go out, but sometimes we're called to stick around and to stay put. Because if we leave, that darkness falls in. And disciples are not to be the cause of darkness. We are not to create even more darkness in a world that unfortunately still has darkness. We're not to be the cause. We are empowered as disciples, as the light of the world, to expel the darkness, to eradicate it, and to allow the light of Christ, the light of the world, the salvation of the world, to shine forth, both outside of our churches, both outside of our homes, outside of our lives, but also very much so in our lives, in our homes, in our parishes, in our jobs. Sometimes we're called to remain, because that's what disciples do. Brothers and sisters, hear that call once again. He said to his disciples, "You are the light of the world."